It's New Mutants issue number 1. Writer is Ed Brisson, Jonathan Hickman, and the artist is Rod Reese. We will begin with Randy's being brought back to life, and they pay a little bit of homage and at least reference the Uncanny X-Men stuff where she died, and she's being welcomed back by Storm. She's the welcoming wagon. I guess Storm kisses everybody on the forehead and tells them, "Welcome, you're home, you're in heaven." Isn't that what Shan says? She says to her that she did die and went straight to heaven. She kind of did, if you're a comic book fan. You went from directionless X-Men, as great as Rosenberg was. If he knew the whole time he was writing his story that this was happening afterwards, then he did a poor job of preparing me for this. Like with Roberto being back from the dead, wasn't he like in Valhalla? Wasn't Magic put in her evil form? Dark Child didn't that isn't that how he ended his thing? So he didn't know. Same with Mystique and Emma Frost. What they went through had nothing to do with this. And if he knew that Hickman was gonna start this, planting seeds 6 months prior, or things he was doing with Professor X, if he knew all these things were happening and he chose to ignore that just so he could tell his X-Men story, I can't defend that. I don't even know why they gave him, like, Marvel. I'm not dissing him at all. I'm not dissing him. I'm saying I don't know why Marvel even gave somebody else a little 6 months to do whatever story they wanted to do. Basically, Ryan Johnson. There's Force Awakens that just happened, and then there's Episode 8 that just, here, do anything you want to do. Yeah, you can rewrite your story, do anything you want. And then Episode 9, we'll get back on track and we'll actually finish the plans that we made 2 years prior. This is just like Star Wars. That's scary. I'll be reading Rosenberg's Annihilation Scourge, so I'm not shitting on the writer. I'm shitting on the decision of, guess who, Jordan D. White, to actually let this thing fly. So maybe Rosenberg didn't know everything that Hickman was up to and this new X. But look, Rosenberg's not on any of the X-Men titles, and Ed Brisson is. What does that say? I could read into that. I could also read into that line. Never mind, man. Let's keep reading the book. New Mutants, everyone. They're not that new. Mondo in this book gets gold balls, where his powers are really sick. I like what they did here, and I can hear Krakoa's voice even though I'm reading it off the paper. He's just like factual guy. I don't want this to happen to you. No, Douglas Ramsey. No. It was nice. It came off well. So good writing by Brisson. Surprise, surprise. Brisson's a great writer. Everything I've read from this guy has been exceptional. Remember his resurrection of Cyclops that he did in the Uncanny Annual #1 from 2000. It might have been 2019. That comic was, when I do top 10 comics of the year, if that might win. It won't win. House of X #2 will win. I'll decide, and you'll be looking forward to that video, hopefully. But that was a phenomenal comic book with Cyclops' return. His Ghost Rider #1 was great, recently that I read. And he killed Deadman Logan in issue 12, and that is an issue I did not read. And I don't want to, because Elseworld stuff is things I don't like. So Mondo comes back, and then it's just Roberto and Danny sitting in a tree, Kissing. Background mutants. We got Glob Herman, because look who's writing the comic. And more importantly, we've got Santo, Cecilia, Soraya, Julian. Don't know who the blonde one is. I know the kid on the very left is Tag, Brian Cruz. But is that Wither? Is that Kevin Ford? Is that who that is? That guy who Josh had to kill him in Necrosha, but he went astray. This guy left the academy. This villain was just brought back. The guy with the power to touch and wither. He can kill you. Remember what he did to Lori? Remember everything that this guy did? He's back. They let everybody back. Everyone's forgiven. I don't know what they could be talking about over here so peacefully, because it's not like what he, maybe they took away his memories. Maybe the Wither that they brought back to life wasn't the most up-to-date Wither. It was a Wither prior to everything that went sour happened. He doesn't have the sorrow or guilt of what he did to Wallflower. Cauliflower? Lori Collins, that woman. Oh, where's Sophia? Is she back? No, she was depowered. They haven't gotten to reviving the depowered people, but that was on the agenda back in Powers. Everyone who read New X-Men Academy X knows exactly what I'm talking about. If not, then I don't apologize because this is an X-Men review, and I like to flex my X-Men knowledge when I have X-Men knowledge. Because I haven't read any of those old X-Men stuff, but anything post 2000, I got a somewhat of a memory of what happened. So the adventure begins. They are all good. They're all gonna go to space. They're all gonna hop on the other side of the plant that the seed that Cyclops gave to his dad. Apparently, it goes to the Starjammer ship. That is beautifully continuing last week's comic with this week's comic. I love this new era. Who's the head of X? There was Jonathan Hickman, and there was who's the second one? Well, there was a second head of X in X Force. I don't know what that person meant to that book, but I feel like a head of X, Jonathan Hickman, is truly who the editor is. Jordan D. White, Mr. Age of X-Men. We're going to take the characters you like, put them in a whole new world, and then everything will be back to normal in 6 issues. So remember to buy those comics. That idiot, he needs to. What is he doing then if he's not editing? Remember when Jonathan Hickman was doing House of X and Powers of 10, first like 4 issues of it, he would tweet, there was a typo in this comic. Silly me. Oh, guess what? We continued the streak. There was another typo. What he was saying was F you to the editor, the everyone who's supposed to make sure mistakes like this don't happen. He was showing you and I that these people are not trying. They're just here and they're getting paid a whole lot of money and they're overseeing stuff that they're not even qualified because they ain't doing their, I hate to say it, they're not doing their job. And I don't say that lightly because that's a very rude thing to say, to tell people that they're not doing their job. We got a white page about this benevolence place and the king egg. I'll wait for other YouTubes to explain that and dig into it. But I can say that the way that they were talking to Sunspot and the way he left and came back really comical, I laughed. So it was a lighthearted book. This is more so character building than it was maybe action or world building or the mutants as a whole. No, this is called New Mutants because the group of friends just happened to be called the New Mutants. They weren't specifically on a mission. They just wanted to go see their friend Sam Guthrie. That was their point. So it works for me, and I'm curious to see where else it will go with this team. But that's the way it is. Hey, when Sunspot said to them all, what he said, why would you do that? What have any of us done to deserve it? And they each have a reason, like, well, you took my bourbon, well, you cut off my arm, or well, your friend did this to me, or what about the plants? It's like, Ed Brisson, man, those 4 panels made this comic book for me because it was light and it was meaningful. And then, very hilariously, he leaves, takes a drink, and says, "All right, is this where I saved the day? It feels like it, doesn't it?" And I get to this page turn moment where I am shocked and surprised that, nah, not at all. They just jumped straight to the part that they wanted to go to. They just jumped to them appearing on the spaceship earlier in the comic. They just jumped from traveling. Like, I don't need to see that. Just go to where I need to go. And that happens a lot in this comic, and I'm curious to know who the space lawyer is. I don't think I've ever heard of that character. Someone in the comment section will help me because you guys are usually helpful. You're always actually helpful for X-Men videos. Who the hell is this space lawyer dude? Is he a new character, or is he someone that we should know about? Having trouble? Space lawyer. There's funny lines in there about call this phone number, and it's gibberish. Justice is blind, and so are we. Yeah, so this was a good comic book. I preferred this over X-Force, and I preferred Marauders over this. And X-Men is the flagship. I can't even grade that compared to everyone else. So let's see. Fallen Angels, Benjamin Percy. Are you going to be the bad comic out of the Dawn of X? Because they have all 6 of them have been good. And we're getting a new wave with Wolverine. There's going to be X-Corps. There'll be a Moira X book. Will one of these like stop after issue 6, or will they not reach a high number? Will one of the Dawn of X's stop and then they'll begin with another one? Who knows? But I'll be there for it, and you'll be watching my videos because you are a loyal subscriber of the monger. Not just any monger, the chill monger. That's me copying film theory.